There are moments in baseball where move doesn't shout, it whispers, and if you lean in closely enough, you realize you're listening to something genuinely brilliant. Today is one of those moments for the Toronto Blue Jays, because a new report has surfaced that on the surface looks familiar, almost predictable, but beneath it lies a layer of quiet genius that deserves far more attention than it's getting. This is not just another free agency rumor, not just another veteran name floating around the winter air. This is strategy, foresight, and long-term thinking rolled into one, and by the end of this video, you'll see exactly why. Welcome back to the Blue Jays report, and trust me when I say you're going to want to stay right here until the very end. Before we dive into the heart of it all, take a second to like this video, share it with a fellow Jays fan who lives for these kinds of debates, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. The support on the Blue Jays report has been nothing short of phenomenal, and it genuinely helps keep this conversation alive and growing. Now, let's get into it, because there's a lot to unpack, and it starts with a name that hasn't echoed through this channel in quite some time. Max Scherzer. Just hearing that name feels like opening a door to a room full of intensity, competitiveness, and controlled chaos. It's been a while since we last spoke about him here, largely because the season ended in heartbreak and exhaustion, but suddenly, the whispers have returned. Jon Heyman recently stated that he still hears the Blue Jays have some interest in Max Scherzer, and on its own, that's intriguing enough. But when you start pulling at the threads of this report, the picture becomes far more fascinating. This isn't coming out of nowhere, either. Ben Nicholson-Smith mentioned weeks ago that the Jays hadn't fully closed the door on Scherzer, and Max himself has openly said he wants to return to pitching. Not just cameo appearances, not ceremonial innings, but real, meaningful work on a baseball mound. He's also made it clear he's comfortable waiting, even into the middle of the season, if the right situation doesn't present itself immediately. That patience tells you something about where his head is at, and it also opens up a world of possibilities for a team willing to think creatively. Heyman's words carried weight because they painted Scherzer not as a desperate veteran clinging to relevance, but as a 41-year-old competitor who still believes he can be a full-year pitcher. This is a man who lives and breathes competition, who was beloved in the Toronto clubhouse, and who instantly became a fan favorite the moment he put on that uniform. Bringing him back makes emotional sense, yes, but the real question has always been about fit. Where does he slot in, and what does he actually give you at this stage of his career? Here's where things get interesting, because despite the age concerns and the obvious wear and tear, there's still something undeniably valuable about Max Scherzer. He started Game 7. He stood on the biggest stage with fire in his eyes, even while dealing with physical issues that would have sidelined lesser competitors. The numbers weren't always pretty. A 5.19 ERA tells part of the story, but it doesn't tell the whole truth. Thumb injuries, lingering discomfort, constant adjustments, all of it mattered. And yet, there were stretches where he still looked like a pitcher capable of changing the tone of a series. At this point, Scherzer wouldn't cost a fortune. This wouldn't be a headline-grabbing, budget-shattering deal. It would be calculated, controlled, and flexible. He becomes insurance for rotation that, while excellent on paper, still carries questions. If someone goes down, he's there. If innings need to be managed, he's there. If the bullpen needs a long relief option with nerves of steel, he could be there too. Whether Max Scherzer is open to that kind of role is unknown, but even the option itself is valuable. But now we arrive at the truly clever part, the idea that's been quietly circulating among fans and analysts, and one that feels almost tailor-made for Toronto. A few months ago, a post surfaced discussing the idea of giving Scherzer a contract that extends beyond just pitching, positioning him as a long-term pitching coach once his playing days officially end. It's a concept that feels bold, yet incredibly sensible. Scherzer likes to teach. You could see it in the dugout, see it in the way he interacted with younger pitchers throughout the playoffs. He wasn't just competing, he was guiding, explaining, mentoring. Players like him do not grow on trees. A first-ballot Hall of Famer with a genuine desire to pass on his knowledge is rare, and the Blue Jays would be foolish not to consider it. You bring him in, let him pitch if his body allows, let him compete because that's who he is, but also allow him to shape the next generation. That's not just a signing, that's an investment. Think about what that means for someone like Trey Savage, a pitcher who has already shown flashes of brilliance and will be absolutely crucial going forward. Savage himself has spoken about how important the veterans were last season, how much he leaned on the experience around him. Add Max Scherzer into that equation, and suddenly you're accelerating development in ways you can't quantify with spreadsheets. Dylan Cease, Cody Ponce, even Jose Berrios, these are players who could still benefit from the presence of a relentless competitor who has seen everything this game can throw at you. Ken Rosenthal reported not long ago that Scherzer is healthy and ready to sign if the right team calls, but content to wait if it doesn't. That patience, combined with Toronto's interest, feels like two puzzle pieces hovering close together. The Jays don't need him in the traditional sense, and that's exactly why it works. There's no desperation here, only opportunity. He can be depth, mentorship, leadership, and occasional firestarter all rolled into one. And let's be clear, this rotation is strong. It's arguably the best the organization has fielded in over a decade. But baseball seasons are long, unforgiving marathons, and even the best-laid plans are tested over 162 games. Health falters, form dips, and that's when having someone like Scherzer around can change everything. Not just with his arm, but with his mind. While all this was unfolding, the free agent market didn't exactly sit still. Framber Valdez came off the board, signing a massive deal with the Detroit Tigers. The Blue Jays had circled around him, but as many of us suspected, the market never truly collapsed enough to make that move realistic. Valdez staying out of the AL East is a small mercy, but seeing him pair with Tarik Skubal in Detroit is enough to make any fan uneasy. That's a frightening 1-2 punch, and it's a reminder of how quickly power can shift in this league. Then came the move that had plenty of Jays fans shaking their heads. Isiah Kiner-Falefa signing a 1-year, $6 million deal with the Boston Red Sox. Yes, that Isiah Kiner-Falefa. A solid defender, a versatile piece, but $6 million is eye-opening. Especially when you consider that Miguel Andujar, who hit over .315 last season, ended up with less money. It's one of those moments where the market feels completely detached from logic. You can debate defense, base running, and intangibles all you want, but it does highlight something important. There is value to be found in lower-end, upside bats if you're willing to look in the right places. The Jays may still need one more bat, quietly, subtly, without fanfare. Not a superstar, not a savior, but someone who can lengthen the lineup and punish mistakes. These are the kinds of moves that win margins, not headlines. All of this brings us back to the original point. The Blue Jays are thinking, not reacting. The interest in Max Scherzer isn't nostalgia, it's calculated. It's about value beyond numbers, about culture, development, and competitive edge. Bringing him back as a player-coach hybrid might sound unconventional, but baseball has always rewarded teams brave enough to color outside the lines. So let me know what you think down below. Would you bring Max Scherzer back in this role? Do you see the genius in it, or do you think it's a step too far? Drop your thoughts, like the video if you enjoyed the breakdown, share it with another fan who lives for these conversations, and subscribe to the Blue Jays Report for more deep dives just like this. Because sometimes, the smartest moves are the ones that don't scream for attention, they simply work.